faith you showed in him.
Yeah, it was important after talking to people once I actually got the job, and then you start to watch a little bit more film on special teams and watch our specialists and how they operated. Then you obviously start talking to the people in the building, and not only about Heath and Luke, but obviously about the guys and just the professionalism, the way that they practice, the way that they go about their business. And then obviously when you turn the tape on and you see the weapons that they are as specialists, that's a part of the game that, man, when you don't have those assets, it's a difficult game at times, especially when you got to be able to flip the field and play field position, when you need to be able to get points from a longer distance. So, that was really important. It was critical to keep that continuity together, and so far I've been nothing but pleased with these guys.
OTAs to be a little different than minicamp than OTAs.
Yeah, we just tightened the racks down a little bit in terms of the amount of repetitions, and just up the competes a little bit. I thought they did a good job today within that, still taking care of each other, practicing the right way. Yes, we upped the level of competition, but you didn't see a million people banging into each other or guys getting banged up, and it was cleaner. I was a little concerned with that, and that's obviously not what we're trying to get accomplished out of these next few days. But yeah, we were keeping score on the competition phase of it, and it was really the red zone and the third down periods we kind of kept score and just try to make it a little bit more fun for them. At the end of the day, these guys, when you have it on a script, that becomes a little monotonous for them, and so we're trying to do as much call-it periods as we can for us as coaches, but also I think the players enjoy it a little bit more for them to just go play and not be, previewing a script. Yeah, I thought there was a little bit more of a rush today, which was great to see from one aspect. And like I was just talking to Tony about this just now, it's actually the worst time to play offensive line because there's no surface area to touch. And as much as we'd love to not admit there's holding that does occur in a professional way, and so it's really difficult to play offensive line in these competitive situations that are primarily drop back pass situations. So really not judging them by any means, but although it was nice to see some of the juice off the edge and our D-line getting going a little bit. That was nice to see because we really haven't, not necessarily seen it, we have, but more so haven't been in those settings as much. And so it was definitely good to see. And but if I was an OL in this setting, I'd be kind of annoyed.
You talked about before having competition in that room. I know it's not training camp yet, but just what have you seen from that competition within that group?
Yeah, I think it's more the competes for me have been more, okay, after we throw a pass maybe 10 yards down the field, are they bursting to go get down the field to go practice the right habits that are going to hopefully continue on through training camp, through the season, and be just like our style of play, the way that we want those guys to play. It's very difficult, like you mentioned, to see an actual physicality within either the run game or the pass pro in these settings. But I think from a repetition standpoint, when you talk about competition, that we've got a lot of guys, some quality competitive reps with both the first group, second group, and third group. And so that's been nice to have, and knowing that, okay, we're going to really hold off on the judgment specifically on the front until we get the pads on. But I think, Sean, Khalil, and Trevor, Mendelson have done a nice job coaching that group up, and those guys have taken to it. They've taken to the competition, and ultimately we'll wait to hold off on some of those judgments till we get to training camp.
Liam, Trevor had a sleeve on today. First time, I believe, in OTAs. Is there anything going on there?
No, I think he just had a little bit of just general soreness. We threw a lot of balls kind of last week and really leading up into. He feels good. He said it wasn't really an issue. It was more sometimes when you just have something to keep it warm, just helps, any type of thrower. So I think that was more just maintenance than it is anything that's really bothering him.
What have you seen from Brendan Strange, since the offseason program's kind of started?
Yeah, he's another one that just works his tail off every day. Like if you were to ask Campy, one of the guys that he really has a lot of appreciation for, specifically obviously as a defensive coordinator, is Brenton Strange. Just the way that he practices, when he does get his hands on you, when he is blocking, he's physical, he's violent, he has some explosive movements, he's got strong hands. So I've been really pleased with Brenton. I do believe that he's ready to take a step, and you saw it last year, kind of taking some steps forward, and been really pleased with his efforts so far. Yeah, I think both physically and mentally there's been some growth. I saw some muscles coming out of his arms, and he's done a great job. And like I said, in the weight room with the conditioning, he's doing multiple meetings a day. I'd have to go back and watch the tape and see how he actually performed. But as you know, like on defense as a DB, usually if they're not calling your name, it's typically a good thing. So I'll have to go back and watch, but I think he's done a nice job in terms of communicating with the guys. He has a little bit of a benefit of knowing some of our plays in some ways, but I don't think that's made any changes. But maybe like formationally, he can anticipate maybe a little bit more, but he's also a little bit behind, obviously, from a terminology and defensive communication. I thought he did a good job, and he integrates himself so well with those guys no matter what. So I think he's had some progress for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit, because it's something you don't see every day, right? So for him, though, it just seems pretty like normal, right? And so I think what helps him kind of do things right a lot is that he's so well conditioned that from a mental fatigue standpoint doesn't seem to occur all that much out here, where he can kind of just run. He's been in altitude for a few years now, and but he is in very good physical shape when it comes to just being able to run all day. And that's something that ultimately, once your legs start to go, the mind starts to go, and you don't really see that all that often with him. He just keeps going, and so that's been exciting to see, and he's gonna have to lean into that as he goes here, and the reps start to go up, and he starts to play maybe offense and defense on the same day, which will occur in training camp. So it's definitely a little bit surprising because you haven't seen it too much. Yeah, I think just a little bit uptick in the competition. Just trying to put them in some more game-like situations, whereas maybe the majority of OTAs, even though we do situational football every day, it's typically in a jog-through setting, a little bit slower paced. We've been mainly operating either off of a script or call it periods of, first down, second down, third down, red zone, but went a little bit more specific today in the red zone with like 3rd and 10 on the 10, 3rd and 7 on the 7, those gotta have it type situations, and then obviously ended with some 2-minute work as well. So trying to simulate a little bit more game-like competition, game-like situations, put them in some more pressure, let the mind go a little bit more as the fatigue starts to set in, and try to create as much sameness as we can to a game. Absolutely. I mean, I think we've had phenomenal attendance throughout the entire offseason. I'll say, I really appreciate that from our guys, the amount that they've been here voluntarily, and now obviously being in a mandatory time, it's been kind of normal, right? Like we've had such good attendance that the majority of the guys have been here the entire time, and but you definitely felt it a little bit more yesterday in the team meeting, where you truly have everybody all in there together. You're going over the schedule of the week and the expectations. I just felt maybe a little bit more of a serious approach in some ways to these next few days, and it is a longer day. Like we'll have these guys for the remainder of the day. We'll end with a walkthrough in the afternoon, which will simulate our cadence and rhythm for training camp. And that's what the goal is here for these 3 days. Get them into a rhythm and routine of kind of what we're going to do for training camp, and have everybody in here together.
Being offensive minded, but flipping back to defense, just what has it been like to see him this offseason?
Man, I've been impressed with Tyson. I thought, like you said today, made some really good competitive plays. He's getting more and more comfortable playing with his hands at the line of scrimmage, trusting his physicality. He does have long arms and good length, and obviously the speed and athleticism shows up. I thought he made some really good plays on the ball, and he kind of has all throughout OTAs. But I've been really pleased with his approach, the way that he's practiced, the way that he's taken coaching. I've been really pleased with Tyson so far.